Here we go. 3, 2, 1. The training camp position previews continue here on Orange and Blue today. We are presented by Sean Honda, Cecil, Lammey, Andrew Mason, talking about the safety position. And when I say Justin Simmons could lead the league in interceptions again, who's tied for the lead last year with Tariq Woolen. Anyway,
You
what do
got
you
that
say,
in
mate?
there, didn't you, buddy?
I had to. I mean, it's just facts, just actual and factual, right? Was that Mariah Carey or was that Janet Jackson?
No,
Or was that Paula Abdul?
That was Zippity Doodah.
Oh, okay.
It's the truth. It's actual.
It's
right?
actual and factual.
Everything
I thought
is
that was TLT.
satisfactual.
Yeah. Anyway,
I think
just
it's a
getting the facts
generational
in.
thing.
I think so. Yeah, we're getting the facts in, baby. And when I say Simmons could lead the league in interceptions, you say what?
I say I wouldn't be surprised, and I would say this also. We talked about an earlier show. If you've more stress on opposing offenses because the Broncos' offense is better, and those opposing offenses are trying to make some plays, and they're popping some balls up downfield, it sets it up for Justin Simmons to get under and do his thing, use his ball tracking ability, use his range, make some plays, and add and averages total, which is starting to work its way up Broncos annals. And look, he may not match Steve Foley for interceptions in Broncos history, but you could argue that whatever total Justin Simmons has, if he ends up playing another 3 or 4 years, at least here in Denver, might be more impressive because of the era it's happening in, because interception rates are way down as quarterbacks have prioritized accuracy, short to intermediate range passing over trying to push it down the field the way they did back in the olden days, back when you and I were very young. Watching this sport. It's a different sport now. So, yeah, could Justin Simmons get 7 interceptions? I think for him, that is where he hasn't gone before. That is where no Bronco has gone since Champ Bailey back in, I believe, 2006, if I'm not mistaken. I think he could. The questions aren't about Justin Simmons as a player. The truth is, the only question I have about Justin Simmons is this. If the Broncos get off to a slow start, like let's say they're 1-3 after 4 games, then you have the Jets and the Chiefs rolling in. You know what's going to happen because this team has a history in recent years of trading at the trade deadline. So if the team gets off to a poor start, I think you're going to see some rumors develop about Justin Simmons maybe being on the market. We'll see. Hopefully it doesn't come to that. Hopefully the Broncos get off to a good start and we're not having those discussions. Justin Simmons plays well for Sean Payton and Vance Joseph, and everything is golden. But when you're coming off 6 straight losing seasons, you have to consider that possibility.
Yeah, you do. So the questions aren't about Simmons, of course. It's about the team and what they do,
right,
and what they do opposite of Justin. This is fascinating, especially bringing back Kareem Jackson. So we kind of got to talk about the rest. JL Skinner's kind of his own thing, and he's got to be healthy. We'll see what happens with the rookie Boise State. But like, okay, Kareem, PJ Locke, Caden Sterns, like you have a collection of talent in one spot to decide who's going to play there opposite of Simmons.
Right. And they let Kareem Jackson linger on the market for nearly 2 months before re-signing him. And then, we can't say too much, but I'd say that position right now up next to Justin Simmons is pretty much a coin flip at this point. And I think if you gave the truth serum to people at Sanctuary Health Training Center, they'd probably say something along the lines of they really want Caden Sterns to step up and earn that job. But the first thing is he's got to be healthy. Best ability is availability, and availability has not been his friend. Going back to his last couple of years at Texas, there's been in some kind of injury every year, and he missed most of last season. So that's the beginning concern. What you love about Caden Sterns is his ability to make plays on the ball. We saw that back in 2021 as a pass rusher, ball tracking ability. I mean, shoot, if you've got him and Justin Simmons back there, even though Caden's going to be more up close to the box, making plays against the run, being something of a thumper, you still got a guy who can drop back and he can make plays deep downfield as well. So I'd be real excited about the potential of a Sterns Simmons pairing if that's what it comes down to. But with K-Jack, you know what? K-Jack's a security blanket. You know who he is, you know what he is, you know he's a good leader in the locker room. He's very well respected.
Guys love him.
Yes. I'm going to date myself with this reference. He's E.F. Hutton because when he speaks in that locker room, people listen.
Yeah, that's okay. We date ourselves constantly on that.
I know.
Stop talking about Wayne's World. Yeah, whatever. The thing with
we're
Caden
children of the
Sterns,
80s and 90s. This is our language. We're sorry.
Exactly. Sorry. With Caden Sterns, I feel there's a danger because it's like he was a center fielder at Texas, and as a freshman, he was outstanding, and then he just never stay healthy. So I feel like, man, it would be great if we could rely on Caden Sterns, and I just don't feel good about him staying healthy as he needs to. I feel good about his skill, good kid, smart kid, all those sorts of things. But man, he's got to stay on the field. And PJ Locke could make some plays. We've seen him do some good things this offseason. So yeah, Kareem's the security blanket. PJ might push Caden if Caden can't stay out there.
Right. And they did bring him back early in the offseason. And we know he can be a dime back. I think like him, we talked about Riley Moss in the cornerback show. Are Riley Moss and PJ Locke potentially battling for a dime role? That's something that we could see develop over the course of training camp. Wouldn't surprise me if we see that type of competition, especially for somebody who's going to be maybe a little bit positionless early, like Riley Moss. But PJ Locke's also a core special teamer, but it's interesting because you kind of see this squeeze developing here around PJ Locke because you have Delaren Turner-Yell coming back, and he's somebody who may well factor on teams as well. JL Skinner, if he gets healthy, that's the thing. He's got to get healthy first before we can really see what he can do out there. Until then, that's a question mark. But yeah, there's a squeeze, and someone's not going to make it out of this group. But I do know this with PJ Locke. Every time he's been pushed and challenged, he's come back better. So that's why I wouldn't be surprised to see him responding to the challenges of this moment by having perhaps his best training camp as a Bronco, which is saying a lot because he's always impressed over the summers.
Right. It is Orange and Blue today, presented by Sean Ponda, Cecil, Lammey, Andrew Mason. Is Skinner their potential? And again, this is a high praise, but is there some Isaiah Simmons to his game? Meaning linebacker, safety, hybrid, whatever?
Potentially, if he does that, you'd like him to get a little bit more weight on him and add a little bit more to that frame because he's tall, but he's kind of lean. You want him to, I think you want him to fill out a little bit more, and that's where I think there's some development that needs to do. And also, I mean, the film at Boise State is good. Didn't really distinguish himself much during Senior Bowl week. And then battled injuries, of course, over the offseason, which is what limited him in training camp. Or in OTAs, pardon me. So I think there's reason to be excited if you go for the splash plays, but I think there's also some questions that he's going to have to answer here in training camp. And by no means does he have a lockdown on one of the spots on the roster. Although what does favor him is that he's a part of Sean Payton's draft class rather than a previous coach's draft class. And so
right.
We discussed this with Alex Forsythe, Luke Wattenberg on the offensive line. We can maybe say something similar here with JL Skinner, and we're talking about him in relation to Delaren Turner-Yell, who was basically a special teamer for all of last year, but hasn't really made that push for playing time on the defensive side that I think the Broncos hoped he would start making by now.
Before we wrap up the safety position, I got to bring up the D word because we talk about it on almost every episode of these. Like, how do you feel about the depth? I mean, I love corner. How giddy were we doing the corner show, right? Like, oh my God, cornerback. Depth here is a concern. If you were to look around the league and someone interesting gets cut, if I'm the Broncos, I'm looking at safeties, keeping the mind open.
I'm keeping the mind open as well. I mean, that being said, if your backups are on the second team, Caden Sterns / Kareem Jackson, whoever doesn't earn the starting job, and PJ Locke, I think you feel okay about that. especially with Locke having a special teams role. It's kind of ideal for that number 4 safety there. But remember, the Broncos have the number 5 waiver claim coming out of last season, and they will have that number 5 waiver claim through the first couple weeks of the regular season until this year's record determines your waiver priority. So, yeah, I'd keep an eye there. I'd keep an eye everywhere, but safety seems like one spot where they may get a little bit of a wandering eye to see what else is out there and if they can upgrade that. Put it this way, safety is one of those positions, and I think we can even say maybe defensive line could be a position, maybe even offensive line as well. But there are some positions where if you've made the 53 coming out of camp at the roster deadline, I wouldn't celebrate that first night. I think you want to wait and see what comes out of the post-cut waiver claims, because the Broncos are in position to be pretty active there.
I always feel bad for those guys. Like, I made it, and the next day you didn't make it.
Do you remember in 2019, I think it was River Craycraft, and he made the roster, but Elway got up there and said that they were looking for another punt returner. And I thought, oh my gosh, that poor dude. Like they just basically told him that they're trying to find somebody better and that he's going to be ziggied
right
the next day. That's rough. That's the worst. And it
happens. Boy. It happens. I think nobody will feel bad for him, but I remember when Paxton made the team and then they cut him and got Kevin Hogan. Remember that? Or I'm not misremembering that, right?
No,
Paxton
you're not.
Made the team.
I'll never forget where I was. I was at the South Pearl Farmers Market the following day.
Shout out South Pearl Farmers Market.
And I was like, holy crap, they just cut Paxton Lynch. I'm just there getting some popcorn and at the Kettlehead popcorn stand that they have there. And I'm like, oh my gosh, they just cut Paxton Lynch. And it was funny because I heard people talking about it. It was kind of that murmur among Broncos fans who were out there, like, "Whoa, they cut Paxton. They cut Paxton." Oh my gosh, that was a wild day. It was a wild day.
We've seen some interesting times with these Denver Broncos. He is Andrew Mason. You follow him on Twitter at Mace Denver. I'm at Cecil Lammey. We are Orange and Blue today, presented by Champ Honda OBT.
And guess what?
Yeah.
A week from now, we're watching training camp.
It's back, baby.
Yes, it's back.
Hope you got your tickets.
Yeah. The first practice sold out pretty quickly when the tickets went on sale a while back. Yeah, hope you got your seats. Only 3,000 on the hill, so it'll be comfortably full. I actually happen to agree with the capacity restrictions here because that day there were 7,000 people last year. It didn't look comfortable at all. It looked kind of miserable up there. So, they've only got one set of permanent bathrooms up there. I think they've probably got this right doing the capacity restrictions, but that's my unpopular opinion.
There we go. We've got our opinions. We stick to them. It's Orange and Blue today, presented by Champ Honda. He's Mace. I'm Cease. Everyone, thanks for watching. Stay tuned. And as always, please stay frosty,